How are we all feeling today? Ooh. I'm not going to make you do that again, just to save a few sore heads. Well, I hope you all had a fabulous time at the beach party. It sounds like you probably did. It was such a beautiful evening down on Gilly. The Cornish weather really held out in its postcard perfect setting. So thank you all for joining us. My name's Nikki Davies. I'm here from the Agile on the Beach organising team and Tech Cornwall as well.
My name's Kaylee and I'm from the Agile on the Beach organising team and Tech Cornwall. Okay, so we are all here for two reasons: to sustain a high-quality community of IT practitioners who are connected through AOTB from years past and for years to come; to grow the Cornish tech industry. 20 years ago, it didn't exist. Today, there are IT businesses thriving here in Cornwall. There's a lot of education outreach, and it's an amazing thing to see.
Huge thank you once again. I know we thank our sponsors a lot, but we are so grateful for their support. So to Springer Nature, who have products and platforms that help researchers uncover ideas and share discoveries. Grey Matter, who are exhibiting out in Studio B, who are experts in cloud solutions and technical services. They've got some really cool merch. Go and check them out. Zoho, our headline sponsors, who have a powerful software suite with a range of products to help you change the way you work. They've got a huge range of projects. Again, they've got a massive stand and also some cool merch. So go and check them out. Also, Circular & Co., who have provided your cups. They're a local Cornish company with an amazing backstory, so go and check them out all around the circular economy. There are cup washes as well. I think we heard yesterday, we've had 400 uses of the cup wash, and the whole thing has cost £2 thanks to the eco-efficiency of the cup washes. So well done on rewashing your cups. So please reuse your cups as usual. Pop your names on them if you need to. Bullimall for our media partners, another local company, absolute legends and long-term partner of Agile on the Beach. Huge thank you to them. And of course, the team at Tech Cornwall, your friendly local tech community, here serving the tech industry for over a decade. And some really cool merch.
Okay, just to say a massive thank you to all of the Cornish businesses that are here today. So we're a Cornish event, and just, thank you to everybody based in Cornwall for coming along. These are the Cornish events at the business, so if you meet people from them, give them some love. And yeah, brilliant, thank you.
Okay, we are still not expecting any fire alarms. So if you do hear an alarm of any sound, head out to the nearest fire exit. There is one behind this curtain. They are marked all over the building. The meeting point is on the grassy patch outside the front near the food. Hopefully you've managed to get on the Wi-Fi. Hopefully you've been fed and watered and found all the cake. Cake comes out twice, which is pretty cool. So there's usually a 3 o'clock cake break as well. So hopefully you've all found it already in the exhibition space. Enjoy the food, and as we said yesterday, lunch is open 30 minutes before and after the actual lunch time. So if you do end a session early, or if you jumped on a call and you want to sneak out for lunch, please go and help yourselves.
Okay, so Wi-Fi, hopefully, like Nikki said, you're all on the Wi-Fi. So the university managed the Wi-Fi across the entire campus. We are given access to the guest network, and we do have a Wi-Fi help desk just situated outside of Studio A.
Transport for this evening. So if you are joining us for the boat party, there is one bus going from the Penryn campus stop, which is up near Glasney Lodge, at 6:30. There is no return coach, usually because, as I mentioned yesterday, Steve tends to take a mass exodus of people into Falmouth for a few light drinks. So if you do want to come back, you will have to arrange your own transport. I know a few of you are getting the train back to various places this evening. So if you are not joining us at the boat party, we wish you a very safe journey. And if you are joining us at the boat party, then I hope you get an awesome sunset like you did last night. Hopefully, at least over half of you have already downloaded and used the event app. So this is our event app, Brella. So you can find it on the App Store, on whichever platform that you use. You can manage your schedule in there. It's not a booking for the rooms. It's just to help you manage your time. So it doesn't sort of book your slot in any sort of session. It just helps you kind of manage your schedule and work it from there. But you can also connect with each other. There's a QR code scanner, and there's a scan option and a share option in there as well. So if you want to connect with people throughout the event, you can do so on the app. And there's other various features on there as well. You can also check out the enhanced booths that all the exhibitors and sponsors have as well. So if you're interested in their products and their team and who to connect with, you can do that through the app as well.
Okay, so sessions. So you can find the schedule using the QR code on the back of here. You've also got, if you've got the app, you can use that to see what's going on and, like Nikki said, plan your schedule. Q&A is opt-in for all speakers, so they'll let you know at the start of the session if they're doing a Q&A. And a question must be a question, not a statement. We say this every year. Please don't be that person. We pride ourselves on not having barriers between our speakers and attendees. We have a quiet working room for all, not a speaker room. And our boat trip is, instead of a speaker dinner, we want to give people opportunities to get to know one another and learn from each other. And we are making a donation to a local food bank on behalf of all of our speakers. Unfortunately, there's huge demand for food banks here in Cornwall. And we have a speaker this year from the NHS. Thank you, Robert Macadam, for everything that you and your colleagues do for all of us and our families.
So we have another AI session for you again this morning. This time it's with Ollie Brand. It's a Q&A this morning, and that's going to take place after Kate's keynote. So please stick around for that. Have your questions for Ollie lined up. We're hearing from a rapidly moving tech startup this morning, so it will be quite a contrast to yesterday's. So please do stick around. Ollie's ready to take your questions, and he's very excited to hear from you all.
Okay, so feedback, we've already gone over this, but I will do it again. So we have a speaker feedback form that's separate to our end of conference feedback in a bid to increase quantity and quality of session feedback. And we're doing it in a way that fits the AOTB vibe, so no essays. We've asked speakers to show this QR code at the start and the end of their sessions. Just scan it and answer 3 questions. Easy.
Lovely. And we're on all your social media platforms, so please do share. We've loved seeing the content coming through already. We will share that as well. And obviously, please feel free to share it after the event as you're travelling home.
And just, yeah, amazing that we have some really great keynote speakers this year. Thank you for coming along. And so this morning's keynote is Kate Leto. Kate is an executive coach for technology leaders with over 25 years of experience with product management, digital transformation, and leadership development. She has worked all over the world, from startups to enterprises, and her book, Hiring Product Managers, is available on Amazon. The last time Kate spoke here, her session was absurdly popular, and we're looking forward to hearing what she has to say today. And this afternoon's keynote is Neha Dutt, a long-standing attendee of the conference, I think, probably since I've been doing it anyway. So Neha is an advisor, practitioner, coach, and speaker in product strategy, organisation design, and human change. She's been an AOT speaker for many years. She's cracked our code long ago, and usually at the end of our call for papers, there's multiple high-scoring proposals from Neha that we have to debate. But last year was different. One of her many good ideas was on organisational cosplay, and Gwen said, why not make that a keynote? So here we are. Thank you, Neha.
So welcoming to the stage, Kate.
The moment of truth.
I'll put this in here so we know.
Yes.
Happy?
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Try it again. Good morning. Good morning. Hey! So nice to see bright, shining, smiling faces the morning after the night before. Everybody even got here on time. I'm quite impressed. I have no doubt, though, even though this is kind of not a work day, that many of you have already checked your email, you've checked WhatsApp, you've checked Slack. And there might already be something kind of lurking around in your mind about a conversation that you're going to have when you go back on Monday, or maybe this afternoon, maybe something that you wanted to get done that didn't get done. Maybe it was a conversation you had before you left and before you came in here. It's very common for us to have something lingering up here that distracts us. So before a lot of my meetings or coaching sessions or workshops, we do a check-in round, which I bet a lot of you are familiar with, just asking a question to help people be more present in the room, in the space. So sometimes my questions are something like, what has your attention? Or tell me one word that describes your mood. If we were to do that today and give everybody a chance to respond, we'd be here for a long time. So instead, I'm going to invite you and ask you to do something a little bit different to check in today, and it's about body movement. So I know we're kind of tightly packed, but I had that in mind when I was kind of thinking about this. So if you're comfortable standing up, we'll do a little bit of shifting right on the spot. And there's some room, you could take up aisles. If you're not comfortable standing or you're not able, stay in your seats and just shift to the edge of your seat, okay? And if you're not able to shift to the edge of your seat, just stay where you are. That's completely cool too. So first thing we're gonna do, yeah, I see some movement already. That's cool. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna start with some breath, some deep breaths. Breathing in for 3 through your nose, out for 3 through the mouth. I'm going to count. So don't start without me. We're going to do 3 rounds. In for 3. 1, 2, 3. Out. 1, 2, 3. Do it again. In, 2, 3. Out. 2, 3. Last one. In, 2, 3. Out. 2, 3. Cool. All right. Then I want you to just take a look at your feet, be it if you're standing or you're sitting. And we want to get a bit grounded. So you're going to do a little bit of shifting back and forth. Yeah? And I want you to do some stomping. Just walking in place, marking your spot, left, right, or be a rebel, right, left. I expect a lot of right, left. Okay. Just get the blood moving just a little bit of a shift. Okay, cool. Let's stop. Let's move to our shoulders. We're just going to do some gentle shoulder movement, up and down. I don't know about you guys, but my shoulders are always kind of creaky. 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, and should you be interested, let's do a shoulder roll back. 1, 2, 3, and forward. 1, 2, 3. Depending on how your neck's feeling today, I'm going to give you 2 options, okay? If it's kind of creaky, maybe just do a simple left and right. Say hello to your neighbor. How you doing? Left. If you have a little more something going on and you're up for some adventure, do a neck roll. Oh, that gets right into it. And then if you're doing the neck roll, don't forget to go back the other way. Make sure you're doing both sides. Okay, almost done. So this one, you're gonna have to be a little coordinated with your row-mates. Not too bad. Okay, all I'm gonna ask you to do is take your left hand and grab your right side. Take your right arm, go across your body. Don't hit the person next to you, even if you don't like them. But what I want you to do is create some tension and twist. And maybe reach just that much further. All right, cool, let's go the other way. So that means right hand across your body, left arm out, doing a little stretch. Isn't that nice? And if you're not able to do that, then just, do just twists like that. You're getting the same thing out of it. Okay, last one. This is the big one, guys and gals. So, lifting your arms up all the way above. Yes, seriously, woohoo. Small shift, small movement, feels good. Go on your tippy toes if you're daring. Reach as high as you can. And then 1, 2, 3, I want you to drop it down. I want to hear some whooshes, right? So we're going to do it again. Up, whoosh. One more, up, and whoosh. Okay, that's it. How about that? You've got, well, thank you. Thank all of you. If you want to do one last movement, freestyle on your own before we sit, you're welcome to. But that's all I got. Okay, well done, everybody. Yeah, I like that. A little bit of the overbite dance. Okay, so hopefully we've gotten our bodies going a little bit, we've gotten some energy going a little bit, and also we start to realize that small, gentle movements can create some shifts, some pretty big shifts, and that's one of the main themes of my talk today. So my talk is called It's All Invented. And I'm going to be talking to you about our self-narratives, the stories that we have in our minds, and how they impact the work that we do every single day in the future of our products. Now, you can probably tell just from that very short introduction and our morning calisthenics routine that this talk is not about kind of the nuts and bolts of what we do. I am not going to be mentioning AI. Oh, my goodness. I'm not going to be talking about OKRs or KPIs or strategy. I think I might have one kind of very casual comment about a roadmap, and I might mention a feature and a bug, but you're going to have to catch it because they're very fleeting. It'll be like our little bingo game. If you catch it at some point, raise your hand. What I am going to be talking to you about are our interpersonal skills and our leadership skills that we all need to be great at what we do. Things like empathy, self-awareness, the ability to have some really hard conversations, the ability to motivate those around us, the ability to give and receive feedback. These are the kinds of human skills, I call them, that I work with my clients on every single day. And what I see them stumble on the most as they're working on these skills are the stories that they have in their minds, their self-narratives. Stories about, how they see their own self-worth. Stories about how they might interpret somebody else's behavior. Stories about how they think the organization should function. And these really take up our conversations, our engagements together. As an executive coach, I coach the person, I don't coach the product. And I've come to realize that these stories are often subconscious. They're just there. They're sitting there, they're hidden. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of dedication to identify them, to unpack them, and possibly to reinvent them. So I want to give you an example of a story and tell you about one of my own before we go any further. So this story is really interesting. It happened many moons ago, like 15 years ago at least. And I just reconnected with it recently. When I was on an interview, somebody asked me what was one of the most significant points in my career. And I didn't mention a promotion or a job or some great product, or making lots of money with the products. Instead, this story just popped up in my mind. Here's the story. So, as I mentioned many moons ago, I was interviewing for a head of product role at a startup in London. And I was really excited about this job. I really wanted the job. And I was down to the last round of the interviews. And it meant having a coffee with the CEO. And the coffee went well. The CEO seemed to respond well to what I was saying. We seemed to have a nice little energy. And then, of course, she said, "What questions do you have for me?" And being kind of the studious job candidate, I had a few questions in my back pocket. And I pulled one out, very generic question. What do I need to do to be successful in this role? And she looked me straight in the eye, and she said, "You've got to be the smartest person in the room if you're going to be successful at this job." At the time, I didn't really respond. I didn't push back. I didn't challenge. I didn't follow up. If I mentioned I wanted the job, I nodded and smiled and said, I could do that. I could be the smartest person in the room. Got the job. I went in to that job thinking I needed to be the smartest person in the room. Those 10 words, that one phrase that she probably seemingly kind of carelessly mentioned, no big deal to her, laid the foundation for multiple storylines that shaped my time with that organization. And I'll tell you, the first 6 months or so were not pretty, mostly because I went in thinking I needed to be the smartest person in the room. That was my storyline. That was my narrative. And in my magic mind, being the smartest person in the room meant that I don't need to get input from anybody else. I don't need to build alignment. I can make decisions on my own because I'm the smartest person in the room. I know exactly what needs to be done. And I can make those decisions really, really, really quickly because that's what the smartest person in the room does, right? They get it. They know it. Moving on. I pissed a lot of people off. Like, it was not pretty. I was so busy trying to be this smartest person in the room that I forgot to just be in the room. I didn't listen. I didn't build relationships. I didn't learn. And it all erupted probably about 6 months in. I'll never forget this moment. We were in a conference room, and I was presenting what I thought our roadmap, there's one, would be for the next 12 months. And I looked at the room, and everybody was just kind of blank-faced. They had no idea what I was talking about because I hadn't talked to anybody about it. I had built up no alignment. I got no feedback back. I got no input. I am the smartest person in the room. I know what needs to go on this roadmap. And at that moment, all of my energy that went into trying to be the smartest person in the room just collapsed. Like, my self-worth in reality was about this big, and every day I was acting like it was this big. And it's not sustainable. There were tears. They were mine. I got a lot of stares, but I also got a lot of support. I was surrounded by a really good group of people that knew my intentions were good, just a bit misguided. And we started again. So that's just one of my stories about one place, one time. And the thing is, we all have them. So now it's probably not surprising in my coaching sessions, I hear a lot of stories. And they don't often all come to me packaged well, like, I gotta be the smartest person in the room. But they often come and surface in kind of throwaway comments again. Often self-derogatory comments. Often comments about somebody else on their team or their boss or how things are working there. Comments like these. Let's see if any of these sound familiar to you guys. I'm not any good at my job. I'm just lucky to be here. If I want anything done right, I've got to do it myself. The execs aren't listening to me. I'm trying to talk to them. I'm trying to explain what we do. When we fail, it will be their fault. And my boss doesn't like me, so why should I even try? Why even put up the energy? Why put up the effort? So I don't know about all of you, but I've said these phrases and similar ones many, many times in my career. And now I know when I hear it from a client that I'm getting just a glimpse into a storyline that's spinning around in their minds. And it might stay there for weeks, months, years, even decades, spinning around like a broken record, maybe a broken Rick Astley record, never gonna give you up, never gonna lay you down, again and again and again. But at some point, it's gonna seep out. It's gonna show up. It's gonna show up in their actions, their decisions, their behaviors. And it's gonna shape what is possible for them, their teams, their organizations, and at the end of the day, the product that our clients interact with, be it an internal product or external client. They're all receiving something from us that's been influenced by all of these storylines. It's kind of a byproduct of them. So that's why I spent a lot of time with my clients doing what I now call story work. We focus on identifying these stories and trying to unpack them. Our work has really boiled down or come together into 3 different core elements that happily all start with the letter P. I don't know how that happened. So I call them the 3 Ps. We work together to identify the patterns of these stories so that they can get to a point where they can catch the story in action before it spins out of control. Then we focus on understanding the purpose of the stories, because all of these stories do have a purpose, and it's quite human, it's quite universal. And then, if they're ready, should they want to, we work on how they can invent new possibilities for these stories. So I'm going to be walking through today these 3 elements, the 3 Ps, patterns, purpose, and possibility. and sharing with you some different frameworks and techniques and even snippets of conversations with my clients. And my hope is that there will be something here that sparks your interest and that you can relate to and that you want to take and try it on your own. Because I really view my job as the coach is to facilitate maybe the initial thought process or thinking behind this work. But the tools need to be self-sustaining. They're things you can do on your own. All right, so we're going to get started. Whoop, there we go. So yes, we're going to start with patterns. Our stories have patterns, just like anything else in life. For those of you who haven't worked with a coach like me before, I'll tell you one of the very first questions I ask you at the beginning of a session is, what do you want to talk about today? Because I'm not there to train you. I'm not there with an agenda. We're there to respond to whatever is going on with you in that moment. And I would say 9 times out of 10, my clients respond with a story, with them playing one of these leading roles. They're either the hero, the victim, or the villain of some kind of scenario at work. So this is called the Karpman Drama Triangle. And it was created by a psychologist named Stephen Karpman, who lived in San Francisco back in the 60s. I bet he had a really good time. And he built this. He created this framework in response to all the stories his clients were telling him. And he wanted them to be able to easily identify the patterns of their stories and how they were impacting those around them. And that's exactly how I use it with my clients today. So I'm going to go through hero, victim, and villain. And as I do, maybe think about something that you've got going on at work, some kind of scenario. And where are you defaulting? Hero, victim, or villain? So we're going to start with the hero, because the hero is the storyline that a lot of my clients like to default to. The hero is the mythical leader, right? The leader that can save the day any day without breaking into a sweat. You got a problem? Don't you worry about it. You go see the hero. They're going to make sure everything's okay. If you've ever had a conversation with somebody and kind of talking through a problem, a challenge you might have, and 10 seconds in they say, you know what you need to do? You should do A, B, and C, or X, Y, and Z. And if you don't want to do it, don't worry. I'll do it for you. You've just had a chat with the hero. The hero loves to make sure that everything is done the way they want it to be done. That statement that I mentioned just a few minutes ago, if I want anything done right, I've got to do it myself, that's very much a hero statement. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's really nice to have a hero around because everything will be taken care of. If there's something I can't do, I can't figure out, I'll go see the hero. They'll help me out with it. But let's look at kind of the flip side of that. Let's open up the hood for a second and take a look inside. What's going on there? For the most part, the hero does this. It's an ego boost, no doubt, but it also gives them a sense of control. They are massive control freaks and micromanagers because they want you to do things their way. And if you don't want to do it their way, they'll take care of it for you. So they get really excited about that initial, I've solved the problem. Like, it's kind of like there's a bright, shiny ball here. I'm going to chase that, and then I'm going to go after this. They're all fires that need to be putting out, and they make me look really good. But I'm not going to see them through because I can't. I've got so many things to do. I'm the hero. And the hero often gets so busy trying to take care of everybody else's fires that they don't have time to do their own work. So things are going to fall through the cracks. And if they should try to take on everybody else's work and their own, it is a path to burnout that heroes often face and bring upon themselves. So yeah, really, really, really nice things about a hero, having a hero around. But in the hero, as they're taking care of everything for you, solving all your problems, they're also not giving you a chance to learn. They're not giving you a chance to figure out how to solve your own problem. So that whole idea of learning and growth and empowered teams and things like that, out the door with the hero. But everything's going to run smoothly. So as you can imagine, the hero and the victim have a lot in common. They have a good relationship, actually, is what I should say. So the victim is the storyline that we all hold at times when we're feeling stuck and hopeless and helpless. When we feel like we're just being asked to do the impossible. I can't get that done by that date. Absolutely not. Dear hero, will you please go talk to so-and-so and explain to them why that date's impossible? I've asked marketing for the data 3 times, they're not giving it to me. Dear hero, can you please go talk to the marketing lead and get me the data? Engineering won't show me what they're working on. I'm not allowed to talk to customers. These are all hero statements. And it's not to say that the hero isn't right at times, and we all become the hero at times. The problem is when we get stuck, victim, right? Sorry. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna just hold that. The problem is when the victim gets stuck in their own victimness, right? And they can't get out, and they become over-reliant on the hero. They also become easy pickings for the villain. So the villain I call the chief finger pointer. It's the person who's gonna blame everybody else when something goes wrong. They don't take any responsibility. You gonna try? Yeah, okay. One moment.
Do you have a pocket in there?
I do have pockets right here.
There you go.
All right. Okay. Chief finger pointer. Gonna take no responsibility, gonna blame everybody else for when something goes wrong. They love to create the us and them situation. So I bet a lot of you have experienced something like product versus engineering, or engineering versus design, or something like that. They love making that tension. They kind of like to stir it up because it detracts any attention from them and puts it all on somebody else. Makes them all the fall person. So the villain, very smart, very clever, but not a lot of people like to work with them. They're not the nicest people around. Whoop. Oh, wow, look at that. I insisted on having my own clicker today, and it does it anyway. Anyway, so I was telling this story about the drama triangle to a client recently on a Zoom call. And it's kind of like my default when we're going through the drama triangles. I just go like this. It's kind of my natural reaction now. And when I got done, he kind of had this mischievous laugh, which threw me off because he's a very, very straight-laced guy. So I asked what was going on with that. And he said that he did like to default to the hero. That he'd like to be known as that person that could save the day. But at times, he also liked being the villain. He kind of liked to stir things up, right? He enjoyed that play. And what he's referring to is what Cartman said is the drama and the drama triangle. It's our ability to shift and change our storylines very quickly, depending on what's going on around us. So you could go into a meeting as a hero and be like, I got the agenda, I know exactly what needs to be done here today. About halfway through, realize nobody's listening to you and you're not getting anywhere and you feel like the victim. And then leave that same meeting as the villain, pointing fingers at everybody else because nobody listened and you didn't get the work done. And it's all their fault. Me, when I was trying to be the smartest person in the room, I think I went back and forth between hero and villain all the time. I didn't allow myself to be victim, although maybe I should have. Maybe that would have created a different outcome earlier. So Cartman says the reason that we do this, the reason we have this ability to shift and change our storyline so quickly and so easily is because we're responding to something that we perceive as a risk, something that we feel is threatening our survival. He says it's to defend and protect ourselves. And if you go just a bit further with Cartman and other researchers' beliefs on our storylines, they're saying that the reason that the mere fact that our brain can do this, that our brain can create storylines to keep us safe and protect us from harm, is a sign of a very naturally functioning brain, a very healthy brain, because the brain's number one purpose is our survival, to keep us alive. And these storylines are our somewhat evolved way of doing that. So instead of fight or flight, which we're all, I'm sure, aware of in one way or another. And in the olden cave women and cavemen days, where we might have a snaggle-tooth tiger nipping at our heels and realize that if we want to make it to dinner tonight, we better get running back to the cave. Now, we've changed. Our environments have surely changed. Our brains have evolved just a bit. So instead of a cave, we have a conference room. Instead of a snaggle-tooth tiger, we've got our boss sitting across from us, who we don't think has our back. We might have a stakeholder sitting to our side who we don't think trusts us, or maybe a team member who we don't think gets us at all. So our storylines are there to keep us safe, and they shift and they change depending on all the other things, all the other stories that are coming at us in our magic minds. So yes, our stories definitely have purpose. They have a very fundamental, very universal purpose, and that is to keep us alive, to keep us safe from harm. So they are features of our healthy brain, but they are very, very, very buggy features. So let me explain. So our stories are fueled by information coming at us all day, every day, right? Sounds and noises and random interactions and planned conversations and headlines, emotions, some memories, everything that's coming at us all the time. So according to research, we're getting about 5 times the amount of data thrown at us every day and information thrown at us every day than we did 25 years ago. And our brain does the very best it can to create some kind of order and structure all this information coming in. But despite the brain's vastly superior capabilities to a computer, the brain, again, was built for survival. It was not built for accuracy, kind of accuracy that we should and usually do see in our devices that can save a document from years ago that we can recall and it'll be the exact place that we left it. The brain doesn't function that way. Instead, it takes all of this information and it mashes it together and it merges it together. And what comes out are things that are wrapped in invention and imagination, and there are stories. And we build story upon story upon story to create our self-identity, to help us understand a place in our world. It's often referred to as narrative fallacy. So the idea that the brain's trying to create some kind of coherence from all of these different pieces of information and data coming at us that feels so real, but most likely the vast majority of it is not. So this is the thing I really want to make sure that you guys and gals hear today. These stories, be it victim, villain, hero, or anything that might sit alongside them, are inventions. They're patterns based on different pieces of information, based on stories that we've told ourselves for years. And we repeat them because they make us feel safe. They make us feel like we have control. So when I say, and I name my talk, it's all invented, I'm not trying to be clever. I'm not trying to have some kind of meta conversation, philosophical conversation with you about what's real and what's not. I mean it, literally. These stories about, I've got to be the smartest person in the room, or I'm not any good at my job, so why should I even try? My boss doesn't listen to me anyway. When we fail, it's their fault. These are narratives that we create, and they shape our work, they shape our relationships, they shape our products that are sent out the door in whatever way, every single day. But there's a shift, and here it is. Happily, there's a shift. If our brains can create these stories to keep us safe and to help us feel like we're in control, they can also create stories to take us into a very different direction. And wouldn't you know, there's a coaching tool to help us get a better understanding of what that different direction might look like. This is called, wait for it, the line. I tried really hard to find like a really professional name for this tool. Like I did a lot of digging, and all I could find is the line. So I'm going with that. The line is a very simple tool that helps us get a good understanding of where our stories are now. So below the line, stories are committed to being right, they're closed off, they're defensive, they're problem-focused, they're often based in anxiety, they're very reactive stories. Cartman drama triangle stories definitely sit down here. Then we have above the line stories, which are open, they're curious, they're about learning, they're about trying new things, they're based on our passions. They're new, they're fresh, they're creative. So I use this a lot with my clients to help them get an understanding and an idea of how they're leading, how they're working. Are they responding? Are they being just reactive to whatever's happening to them, bringing them below the line? Or are they being open and creative and curious about whatever might be happening in their organization and above the line? The vast majority of stories are below the line. Research shows about 80% of these stories are below the line. But that means there are 20% that are above the line, and we got a place to start. Now, making this shift is not easy. No, there's no way that this is an easy thing to do. And it's not something that we just do with our minds and our sheer will. It can also be something that happens within our bodies, as you saw a little bit this morning as we did our calisthenics. But I'd like to do something, again, physical movement now. Number one, because we're over halfway through and you're probably ready to stretch your legs. And number two, to really relay and convey what it might be like to make this kind of shift, to go from below the line to above the line. So if you're up for it, I'd like you to stand again, or if you just want to move to the edge of your seat, that's cool too. And this is going to be really simple. Nice seeing all of you again. Okay, so we're going to look down at our feet. We're going to take on an exaggerated below-the-line physical stance. So what would you imagine that might be? Shoulders hunched. I'm being very reactive. I'm being very defensive. I'm all into my own survival. Shoulders hunched, head down. Maybe you got a clenched jaw. Maybe your shoulders are really, really tight. Your arms are probably faced in, not feeling really good about things. Oh, you all look so sad. All right, so then I'd like you to take a deep breath. Roll your shoulders back. Oh, head up. Take one more deep breath. Okay, head, face forward. And then let's just pretend there's a line right in front of your feet. Let's visualize a line. So right now is your time to go from standing below the line to above the line. Small movement, big shift. Okay, one step forward is all you need to do. And let's take another breath. In. Out. Isn't that nice? Small movements can help us start to create a shift, to invent new ways of thinking. Thank you very much. And wouldn't you know, there's also another coaching tool to help. So there is an alternative to the drama triangle, and it's called the empowerment triangle. And the empowerment triangle was created by a guy named David Emerald, who just passed away this year, very tragically. He did a lot of work with organizations, and through the stories that he was hearing, he identified three more positive, empowering storylines that sit above the line. So this is coach, creator, and challenger that sits above the line directly from hero, victim, and villain. And I'm going to walk you through what these shifts might look like. Maybe. Okay, cool. So the first shift is going from hero to coach. Hero, as I've already described, below the line thinking, very kind of control freak, a bit of micromanager, gonna save the day, but in doing so, I'm gonna make sure everything's done my way. I'm gonna look really good doing it, for a while at least. Shifting to the coach, who has this fundamental belief that everybody has the ability to solve their own problems. The best thing that I could do as coach to help with that is to maybe ask some good questions. What have you tried so far? What are the challenges you're running into? What are your options? Maybe even, how could I help? It's shifting from below the line being very reactive, I'll take care of everything, I'll be in control, to above the line, open and curious. And outcome focused. How can I help the person around me learn to do something for themselves on their own? So that's an initial shift from hero to coach. This is very much what I've been working on for years now, starting with smartest person in the room, I'd say. Next shift, victim to creator. So victim, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, I'm stuck. This place that we all get to sometimes. But again, being very reactive, not putting a lot of energy into trying to get above that line. So the above the line shift would be to a creator who realizes that maybe things aren't going great right now, but I've got a lot of options. There's a lot of different ways this could work. You know, maybe I've lost my job, but I've got X, Y, and Z in terms of experience and my background. I've got a great network. I've already heard about 3 different types of things that I could do. So I've got options. It's shifting from below the line creative or below the line reactive to above the line creative. And then finally, we have villain challenger. So villain finger pointer, it's all your fault, it's everybody else's fault, it's never my fault. To challenger, who's not going to hold back calling things out when they don't agree with something or when they see a problem, but is going to make it very, very clear that we're all on the same side. Here's my challenge, here's my problem. How can we figure it out together? So below the line, villain, reactive, defensive, protecting themselves. Above the line, challenger, being open and curious and wanting to focus on something together, being creative in their approach. So they sound like really nice shifts, right? And really easy. I'll just go from hero to coach, or, you know, from victim to creator. No problem at all. It all fits on slides, so it's good. But of course, it's never that easy. So when I get to this point in story work with clients where we've identified some of their patterns, we understand the purpose of these stories, they have an understanding of what it means to be reactive in their leadership or in their presence versus being creative, so below the line to above the line. Then we start to take a look at how could they create some new possibilities and invent new possibilities, and what might those look like? And to do that, we focus on answering 3 questions. What's your story now? Where do you want to go? And how do you want to get there? And in doing this part of the work, you're going to, as I go through and explain these different techniques, you're going to be able to pick up on a lot of different things that you're already doing as product people or engineering people or design people or agile people. There's a lot of commonality to the type of techniques that we use in coaching to do this work. So I'm going to start with, what's your story now? What's your story now? So to do this, it's all about doing a bit of self-discovery. For those of you that are familiar with discovery for our product work, you know, before we do anything new, before we take on anything big, we always do some discovery, find out what's the real problem, and do a benchmark to help us understand where are we now. So I encourage my clients to do something called a story tracker and build a benchmark. So building a benchmark is all about creating an experiment for yourself where you're going to identify maybe a day or maybe a week, you know, whatever period you feel you can, and you're going to give yourself 5 minutes between meetings. I know that's really hard because we're all so busy, right? We're running from conference room to conference room or Zoom call to Zoom call, but just give it a go. Try it for a day. And during those 5 minutes, you're gonna take a pad of paper or maybe a Post-it note and a Sharpie, and you're gonna answer a couple of questions about what just happened in that meeting. The first question you're gonna answer is, what was the story that was going on in your mind during that meeting? Just initially, were you above the line or were you below the line? Were you reactive and defensive, maybe judgmental below the line? Were you creative and open and curious above the line? Just start with that. And then if you can, think about the triggers. What might have triggered that? Was there somebody in the room that you're not kind of gelling with? Did somebody say something? Maybe did you not sleep well last night? Did you not have breakfast or lunch? Are you running a bit low? What might those triggers have been? And then, extra credit if you can write down actually what was the story itself, right? Were you victim, villain, hero? Were you coach, creator, challenger? And then gather it all together. The one thing I do want to make sure you do, though, with this is that you do write it down, right? Don't just think, oh, I've got this. I'll go for a walk and I'll keep it in my mind, or I'll run to the bathroom in between my meetings. Writing things down, pen and paper, our brains work in a different way and process things in a different way. So it's crucial that you write it down. I've created a story tracker, kind of a work in progress template that I'll have a QR code at the end. If you want to download it, you can use that to get you going. But feel free to use your journal, your notepad, whatever you might do. But just take the time to build a benchmark. And you're getting all of this data that you can either look through on your own and pick out some patterns. You can do it with maybe a peer coach, a coach you're working with, maybe your partner, whatever it might be. But the idea is to gather the data and then take a step back, identify some patterns to help you understand where you want to go next. So this is all about creating a vision. Again, not too far off the work that we do every day. We need to create a vision for what we want this product to be. So you need to create a vision for how you're going or where you want to go above the line. Because I'm imagining, I don't know a lot of folks that are building visions to go further below the line, so we'll go above the line. So the tool that I recommend is from a book called The Art of Possibility, which if you haven't read, I highly recommend it. I read it, I think, every January. It's written by Rosamund and Benjamin Zander. Benjamin Zander is still the musical director and the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic. And he's also a professor at music conservatories all around the world. And he realized in his teaching that his students were so competitive, they weren't really learning anything during the course. They were just focused on getting an A, the best grade that you could get at the time. They spent so much time focusing on the A that the rest of the term just kind of went by. There was really no learning, there was no personal growth at all. So Benjamin Zander tried this experiment. At the beginning of one of the terms, he's like, all right, everybody gets an A. All you have to do to get an A is to write me a letter, have it on my desk next Friday, and tell me how you did it. What was the change that you created in yourself and with your music to get that A? Get as detailed as you can. So what he was challenging them to do was to create a vision of future them. He had made sure they dated it at the end of the term, and he made sure he returned the letters at the end of the term as well, so they could check in on themselves. So I did this in one of my very first coaching training programs that I took. I was introduced to Give Yourself an A, and I was challenged to write myself a letter, and I did it, moving from hero to coach. I wanted to get out of that hero mode and get more into the coaching mode. So I wrote my letter a year from the date that to me a year ahead of time. And I started with, "Dear Kate, congratulations. You have successfully shifted from being hero to coach. And here's exactly how you did it, and here's all the challenges that you faced, and here's how you got around them." I don't know if any of you have used the Amazon press release tool and thinking about our products, thinking about why we might even create them, create a vision for them, talk about all the challenges and how we're going to get past them. It struck me that they're quite similar. So this should be something that's accessible. Giving yourself an A, writing yourself a letter, explaining how you're going to create this change, and give you a guidance for where you want to get to. And then finally, once we know where we are now, where we want to get to, how are we going to get there? Let's break that down a little bit further. And this is really something that I imagine a lot of you do all the time. It's all about creating some experiments. So this is the 15% rule, and it's from a book by Carol Robin and Dave Bradford, who were professors at Stanford's Business School. They taught a very popular course on interpersonal skills to all these bigwig entrepreneurs and business people in Silicon Valley. It became known as one of the most popular courses in the business school. They still teach it today. And the nickname for the course is Touchy-Feely, which I think is great. Touchy-Feely. If you're interested in finding out about Touchy-Feely, I think they even offer it online now. It's that popular. So Carol and Dave, some of the original professors, realized that their students, these entrepreneurs, these business bigwigs, were gonna most likely have some challenges building their interpersonal skills, although they needed to do it desperately. We're also talking about interpersonal skills like humility, communication, having those challenging conversations, building influence. So they devised this idea of a 15% rule to create small experiments that'll get you 15% from your zone of comfort to a zone of learning without risk of entering a zone of danger to help you make some progress in growing these skills. So I encourage my clients often to create experiments. So an experiment could be, for example, if I were working on going from a hero to a coach, I could say, day one, for one day, when somebody comes to me, I'm just going to kind of keep track of how many times when somebody asks me a question, I just answer it as a default, right? I don't stop to think. I don't ask them a question. I just tell them what they need to do. So that could be an experiment, and just keeping track of how often that happens, and maybe what were some of the triggers, what was going on, how did that feel? Second day, you could do a different experiment. Okay? I think it's great to do new experiments every day, because that just keeps the learning going. Second day, you could be like, all right, so now I know that yesterday, 5 times, people have come up to me and asked me questions, and I just answered. Now, instead of answering those questions, I'm going to try to ask a question. So let's see how that experiment goes today. So the idea, small experiments that are not going to get us into a place that we feel completely uncomfortable, but are going to do enough to help us to learn a bit about ourselves. Just that 15% out of our zone of comfort into a zone of learning. So before I send you all out in the world to do this work, this story work, there's a few gotchas I want to share with you. A few things to be aware of. The first and foremost is keep in your own swim lane. Focus on your own stories. You can't fix anyone else's story. You may think like, oh, now I know my boss. My boss is like a total hero or a villain or a victim, and I'm going to go in and tell them what they need to do. It does not work that way. You've got plenty to do with your own stories. If and when they're ready to focus on work for themselves, they'll do that. But also be aware that people are going to pick up on you doing this work. People will notice it. Something as seemingly vague as building self-awareness and the work that I do with clients around that. it shows up in their behavior. People take note. People notice. People are going to be watching you. So don't worry about trying to solve everybody else's problems and change everybody else's stories. Don't know what happened with that one, but we're almost done. Just focus on your own. Anyway, we're just going to let that go. Another gotcha. This isn't, well, I kind of have gone through it in a number of quick slides today. This isn't easy or fast work. It does take commitment, it takes discipline. Often it takes a team of people around you to help you. You know, that could be some peers, that could be maybe your manager if you have that kind of relationship. It could be your partner, it could be a coach, somebody external. But just know this doesn't happen easily. Well, these are tools you can try on your own. You still need to get some support around you. And I had a third gotcha that now I can't remember and I can't look at. So we're going to go on. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It keeps flicking.
I remember what it was. It's stories don't...
Did you write it?
Office story. Yes, I wrote that.
No, tell me.
Yeah, stories don't stop at the office.
Oh, brilliant point. I'm so glad you wrote that out. I would have been bummed to miss that. So, yeah, I've tried to keep this conversation today focused on our work, right? Because that's what we're here about. But obviously, these stories don't stop at the office door, be it a virtual door or a real one, right? They're always here. They're impacting us every single day. Today, you guys have like such an opportunity today to try to pick up on some of the storylines as you're talking to different people. So they're here with you today. They're going to be here in maybe a slightly different fashion when you go home tonight. But they certainly do not stop at the office door. They impact our work, but they don't stop there. They're all around us. Okay. So we've come full circle. These stories that impact how we lead, how we decide, how we show up, the relationships we build or don't build, they're inventions. We've created them, and we can recreate them. So the leader who feels like they have to have all the answers can become the leader who asks some really good questions and listens deeply. The person who thinks they don't have any value or they're not any good at their job can quickly discover how great they really are. Because the future, be it of your product, your team, your organization, it doesn't just happen. We create it. All of us do, each of us. You create it. So my final question today is, what story do you want to create next? And I'd love to hear all about it. I'm kind of scared to try this, but I'm going to flip a screen. There we go. If you'd like to keep in touch, if you'd like to download the story tracker or these slides, you can do that with this QR code. But yeah, please keep in touch, because as I mentioned, this work isn't easy, but it is completely feasible to do on your own. And I'm happy to answer any questions, probably not now because we're out of time. We've got time? Oh, cool, we've got time. So I've got 10 minutes. If anybody would like to ask questions.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Great, questions from the audience. I can't move as fast as Gwen because there's 2 feet in my lungs where they're supposed to be, but I'll do my best.
Thank you for an awesome talk. One of the Amazon leadership principles is leaders are right a lot. To me, that says hero. You told a story as well about getting a job by playing the hero. How should we come to terms with organizations that seek to promote heroes?
Yeah, because it's based on what we've seen before, right? So we've seen other bosses and managers and leaders that have been the hero, so therefore that's our model. I think one of the things to think about is how you can provide some range right? It doesn't always automatically have to be a step from leaving hero behind completely, but it can be taking it into a slightly different direction. So first off, if you're doing the work to build your self-awareness and you understand, you know when you're stepping into that hero role, you're understanding why you're doing it. Sometimes the hero is aligned with this idea of having like directive management style, right? That I'm just going to tell you what to do and do it. Sometimes you do need to do that. Sometimes you have to be directive. Maybe there's a chaotic time going on. Maybe, there's some kind of emergency. But it's being aware of you doing it. It's being aware of your intentions behind it. And it's providing some range to your response. To also be able to include something like asking a question, to check in with that person. What have you tried so far? What have you thought of? Where are you getting blocked? How can I help? So I think it's really hard to break away completely from hero because heroes are how we have been taught to lead. But if you can provide some kind of range to that initial response, just step outside it, just that one bit by maybe asking a question, others will pick up on you doing that as well. So it's becoming a different type of hero role model, I suppose.
Coming to you.
Thank you. That was a really, really wonderful talk. I wondered, some of the behaviours that you described can be received differently depending on whether they're coming from a man or a woman. And I wondered how you see these roles that you've talked about interacting with gender and how those behaviours are received.
I try not to. I'll be really honest with you. Because it might be kind of surprising so a lot of my work, the majority of my clients are men, which I find really interesting. So I see all these roles in the guys that I work with and the men that I work with. You could stereotype them, absolutely. Hero is a guy, victim is a woman. I think that's a gender stereotype. But I have to say, I see all of these in both. And I can see kind of a societal response to, Rachel Reeves' tears in Parliament the other day. None of us will really know what was going on there, but she, in many ways, has been put into that victim storyline for whatever reason, because she cried. So society, I think, puts us there. It's our opportunity to respond to that. So victim becomes curator, right? Realizing I've got lots of options. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how the press and everyone handle her response. It seems like she's kind of, I haven't really been able to keep track of press or media about it, but she's all smiles now. So I think her range has gone beyond a bit to try to overcompensate for it. But yeah, I think we can easily try to assign gender roles to this. But from my experience as a practitioner, I see them equally in both genders, in all genders. I hope that helps.
Any other questions? Oh, at the back. I'm on my way.
Thank you for the talk. I'm just wondering what's the best transformation that you've seen personally?
A personal transformation or
Across every part that you've worked in, sorry.
Oh my gosh, that could be a long response. Personally, there's a man that I've been working with off and on for about four or so years now, and he's a VP of product in the States at a scale up. And the cool thing is I've worked with him for so long. It's off and on, it's not been continuous. But we've started working together again because he's going through a lot of changes, a lot of difficulties. His company just got acquired. He's got a promotion. He lost the person who was like his right hand in the organization. Quite suddenly, she decided to quit. So it's created a lot of challenges for him. And we've used a lot of these tools, especially the line. He can easily convey to me now where he is the minute we get on a call. He's like, I'm below the line. I'm probably like a -6 today. Or I'm having a better idea of going above the line and below the line, and I notice it. So he's not done creating, he's not always sitting up top, right? He's not always above the line. And I don't think we should, I hope I didn't convey that you must be all the time. But that's a state that we should look to, we should be aware of, and we should try to spend some time above the line every single day and notice the difference that it makes to us and those around us. So I'd say he's the best personal transformation I've seen because he's done a lot of work and he uses these tools to help himself get more grounded and more square in what he needs to do now. Organizationally, that's a tough one because, as we all know, big organizational transformations are rarely successful. I recently worked with a pharmaceutical company in Scandinavia, and I worked with a senior leadership team that was leading, they were a cross-functional team leading a transformation. So they just weren't within product or technology. In fact, it was more research and development. So it had nothing to do specifically with product and technology or design. And I started working with them as they were coming together very quickly. So we went through storming, forming, norming, all of that within a matter of months. And it was because they were very committed to doing it. So that organization is still in flux and still in transformation. But seeing that team come together quite quickly and make change, that was a great thing. Very similar, I worked with a culture team in Boeing back when Boeing was going through a few things. And seeing that culture team come together and try to learn how to represent themselves and their emotions and the work they do in a very different way, that was a beautiful transformation. Of course, could they change the entire organization? No. But they did a lot of great things and modeling new behaviors that other people noticed and started to build on.
Thank you, Kate. That is all the questions we have time for today, so huge thank you.